Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mind the Mental Monday. I hope that everybody is doing well tonight. Thank you all for tuning in to last week's episode that I did with my husband. Over 1,000 of you viewed it on Facebook, and that's not counting those on Instagram and on YouTube. So thank you, thank you, thank you for your views. And thank you for helping me close out what was Men's Mental Health Month last week. Um, Tonight, I want to kind of give a warning that I'm going to be talking about a sensitive topic tonight. And so I just want you to be aware of that. Um, and so come on in the room. Let me know where you're tuning in from and let me know how you're doing tonight. I'm going to be really honest. It's been a rough few weeks for me. And I have not really been in the greatest mental space, to be honest. So if I don't have the same energy tonight that I might normally have, um, I'm just asking for your grace, as I'm trying to give my own self some grace. And but I want to talk about this topic. Hi, Callum Scott fans. Hello, how are you doing? I'm doing all right. How are you? Hope you're doing okay too. Um, so come on in, those of you that are watching on Facebook, and if you're watching live on Instagram, if you're watching later on, for those of you who will catch this on YouTube, I just want you to be aware that I am going to be talking about a sensitive topic, that being suicide. And um, it's one of the topics I'm going to be talking about in the midst of this conversation. And it may be triggering for some of you. So I just want you to know that in advance and take care of yourself in the way that you need to care for yourself. So it's really kind of a hard topic to talk about. And this was a topic that was shared with me from one of one of the people who tune in to Mind the Mental Monday, and so who had an experience with someone very close to her, who took their own life. And so one of the issues that they were dealing with as a caregiver was the thought that, they couldn't save that person. And I think that a lot of people who lose people to suicide, a lot of people who maybe have loved ones or friends who take that step and decide that um, life is enough, that they don't want to deal with life anymore. Um, the people, those of us who love those people, always wonder what more could we have done. And in addition to that, it doesn't even have to be a suicide. It could be taking care of a parent. Last week, my husband talked about, taking care of his parent. And there's so often just not feeling like he's doing enough. Like there's, this constant feeling of, you want your loved one, you want to save them, you want to make them better, you want to do things that will help them to get back to their normal or their usual selves. There's so much that you want to do, but understanding the notion that there's so much over which we have no control, right? And so what we have to focus on are those things that we do have control over. We do have control over, just being there for our loved ones, being a listening ear, being a shoulder to cry on. We do have control over, just doing the best we can with what we have, doing the best we can with whatever information we have. Sometimes we don't have all the information that we need to be able to be more effective in a person's life. And we then blame ourselves when something goes awry. If that person takes their life, or if that person doesn't get healed in the way that we want them to, we we sort of take that out on ourselves, and we constantly ask ourselves the question, like, what more could we have done? How could we have served this person better? And the truth of the matter is, there's likely nothing else you could have done, because once a person makes up their mind of what they want to do, there's really very little, if anything, that anybody can do to save them, or to bring them, back to the other side of that line. And so, um, a lot of times what happens with suicide, and particularly what happens with people who are suffering from severe depression, who indicate that they do want to harm themselves, that they do want to take their life. Um, what is important to understand is that, depression is a very complex challenge that people might have, and there are varying levels of it. And there are some levels of depression where people can just go to therapy, and that helps, and that, pulls them out of wherever they are. There are other people who need therapy, and they might need to be on some kind of medication. That's another way. And then there are those who are at a place where they just really um, don't want to deal with it anymore. I think the important thing is for us to understand that when a person says that they want to end their life, believe them. Ask them the hard questions, like, are you are you planning? Do you have a plan? Do you have an active plan to take your life? What is your plan? And if they can say what their plan is, um, then that means that they really kind of need like an additional help. But also understand that the only time, or the only way that that person will get the extra help that they need, is if they have to want the help. And so, even if you are very close to a person, even if you could even live with a person, and not really be clued in, you can feel like, oh, everything is okay. Like, you can feel like they're better. Um, and and then you can kind of go on. But you can't really blame yourself, because if the person doesn't get the help that they need, if they don't consciously make that decision for themselves, there's not another person on the planet who can make that decision for them. And so, as long as you have offered the information, as long as you have been that support, you've been there for them to cry on your shoulder. If they choose to cry on your shoulder, you've been there, to talk to them and let them know that they're not alone, and that sort of thing. If a person makes that decision to that they don't want to extend their life any longer, then there's really not anything else that you could have done. And so, understanding that there are levels to depression, there are levels to people, wanting to commit suicide. There are some people who might indicate that they don't want to be here anymore, and that sort of thing. But at the same time, they don't have a plan. It's more of a, I'm tired of dealing with this stuff that I'm dealing with, but at the same time, I'm not at a place where I am thinking about taking my life, really. Um, so knowing those differences, um, and knowing how, to approach that person with those questions, of what is your plan, and knowing how to deal with a person if they have a plan versus if they have no plan at all, but just staying on top of them, kind of keeping in touch, just kind of checking in with them every so often to kind of see where they are in their mental headspace. There are loved ones that I have who have, made comments of that in past years, and I'm cognizant that the mind can go there. And so, what I try to do is to be present when they need a listening ear or a shoulder to cry on. Um, and I just um, check up on them, frequently. And as I always have said in the past, checking up on your strong friends and family members, those ones who appear to be the strongest, sometimes really aren't. And I'm going to share something with you. So I had a therapy session earlier today, and I was sharing with my therapist just how, I don't know, in the last few weeks, um, I've just been sad. Like, people that have been around me might not really pick up on it. They might not notice it. But I've just really been sad. And so we talked about some of the things that could have been causing my sadness. But one of the strategies that she said to me was she said, well, have you talked to, like your friends that, your girlfriends that you're like close to? Um, and I said, no, no, I haven't. I just haven't really had the time, and it's been a lot going on, and I just haven't. And, she said, but you are, you're always strong, for others. She said, but, sometimes you have to let somebody else carry your umbrella for you. That thing really stuck with me. She said maybe they can't stop the rain, but they can take a little bit of pressure off of you by holding the umbrella for you. And so I wanted to share that with you tonight because there are people who may not show you how they are really feeling internally. There are people who may just need a little bit of help. Just hold the umbrella for me so that I don't have to be concerned with like holding it while at the same time I'm walking and I'm juggling all of these 80 million emotions that I'm going through right now. And if you're a female, if you're a woman in my age group, in my late 50s, heading towards 60, and that menopause thing is in full gear, like all of that is real and can cause some of these emotions, and even can go so far as to causing someone to just say, you know what, I'm done. I'm out. I just don't want to deal with this anymore. Um, and so what to do though when you can't save them? And I think, that is the crux, excuse me, of what I want to talk about tonight, because I think that there are so many people out here, caregivers in particular, who, excuse me, guys, who wake up and put on that cape. And give me a second, I'm sorry. And for a lot of people, they're not only putting on one cape, they're putting on three, four, five, 10 capes, right? And not realizing that every cape that they add to superwoman, superman, super child, super brother, super sister, super cousin, super grandchild, whatever the super is that you are, um, the more capes you tie around your neck, the more weight you put on your back and your neck. And when you have that kind of weight around your neck, you cannot fly as high or as far, right? And so, what I'm saying to you is, and what I'm saying to me is, um, you can be super and you can be a man or a woman, but you don't have to be Superman or Superwoman. You don't have to put that level of pressure on yourself to feel like you've got to leap tall buildings in a single bound in order to save blank, fill in the blank of every person or every situation you feel like you might need to save. Um, you don't have to wear a million capes. You don't even really have to wear one cape, right? Because Superman and Superwoman and the Bionic Woman and all these superheroes are characters made up in somebody's mind that aren't real, that don't actually exist. And so understand that even even those who might be the closest to you, you can't always save. Um, And so, but when you're at a place of not being able to save them, you begin to feel the weight of all of those capes that you've tied around your neck, feeling like there's got to be something that I can do to save them. And the truth of the matter is that is simply weighing you down, because it's not really based in fact. You've done all that you can. You've done what you could have done with the information that you've had. You have tried your best in your humanity to to have the conversations, to be present, to provide the shoulder, to you've done all of that, and none of that was able to sustain that person. Um, you may feel, be filled with guilt about that. But the truth of the matter is, unless you are the creator of the universe, um, there's not really any more that you could have done, right? And so you then have to do what you need to do to care for yourself. Like for once, put the cape on for you, and go to that grief counselor and work through the pain that you're feeling and work through those issues of feeling not enough. Like I needed to be more for that person. Um, because those feelings are real. And what I'm saying tonight is not trying to like belittle how a person might feel, or to try to make light of that. On the contrary, I want you to recognize that those are very real emotions, very real feelings that a person may have, that you may have if you have gone through a situation like this, and understanding that you are not alone in how you feel. Um, you are not wrong to feel the way that you do, because you feel how you feel. And and so own the feelings, own the pain, but do whatever you thought you could have done for that person. Okay, now try to do that for you, right? Find that person, whether it's a grief therapist or a grief recovery specialist. If anybody out here needs to know or needs to get with a grief recovery specialist, I know two of them who are excellent that I can refer you to. Um, but get that counseling that you need. Um, Pray, uh, hold on to your faith, whatever your faith is. Lean into it. Um, but don't just sort of try to push those feelings down. Don't just try to push the pain down. Let the pain come up. Because, when if you have a stomach ache, or if you ate something that wasn't good, that hurt your stomach, and then you regurgitate it, it makes you feel better once you get that out, right? And so I know that was a pretty graphic and disgusting metaphor, but it's true, it ultimately kind of makes you feel better. And so it's the same when you are dealing with, that kind of pain, that level of pain. um, Let it come up. Let it, allow yourself to be in it for the length of time that you need to be in it. But understand that, it is also a part of grief. And again, as we've mentioned before, grief can come not only when you have like lost someone, but there are so many different losses within the one loss, right? When you lose a loved one, you're not just losing their physical presence. You are also losing all of the various connections that you had with them. It's why, for example, like I can't listen to Dance with My Father by Luther Vandross without coming to tears because one of my favorite things to do with my dad was to dance. We would go to restaurants that and have dinner that had a dance floor, and then we get out there and, dancing was a great form of exercise, but it was just a lot of fun. And so it, it wasn't just losing him, right, as a person. It was his physical, it was the conversations that we had and all the things we used to do together and just all the things, right? All the connections. So what we have to recognize is that those are multiple losses. And when you have multiple losses, that's like multiple losses all at once. Think about it like that. And when you have multiple losses all at once, they can be very complex and heavy. They can cause you to go the range of emotions from, anger to sadness to frustration to fear. Just the gambit of emotions that you can go through. And understanding that this these kinds of multiple losses all at once are trauma. And so, dealing with the trauma, um, and not making sure that you sort of don't stigmatize like needing help to get through the trauma that you have faced. There's no shame in it. There's no shame in talking about it. Because when you talk about it, what you come to understand is that, again, you're not alone. You come to understand that there are others that have, of course, whatever your loss is your loss, right? Nobody can understand what you're going through. If anybody says, I understand what you're going through, no, you don't. They don't understand because even if it's the same kind of thing, um, our losses are different. Relationships are different. How we handle things are different. So no, it's you can't understand what a person is going through. And please don't say that to anybody in trying to comfort them. Oh, I understand. I get what you're going through because you don't. But instead say, I don't know what you're going through, but just know that whatever it is you need from me, let me know and I'm present. I'm here for you. What do you need? Sometimes they need you to just be silent. Sometimes if you don't really know the words to say, it's okay to say nothing. It's okay to say, I'm just going to, I don't fully understand or grasp the pain that you're in, what you're going through, but I'm here. If you need to say anything, or if you don't need to say anything at all, if we can just sit in this room in silence, that's what we can do. And sometimes that's more helpful than all the talking you could do with a person that is really going through something. And so, if you are a person who has experienced the emotions behind n not feeling like you couldn't save somebody that you wanted to try, that you wanted to try to save, that you thought was in a better position than they were, who you just didn't see it coming, right? If you are that person, then own the pain, um, own how you feel about it, but get the help that you need to navigate through it. And so that could be, again, it could be therapy, it could be pastoral care, uh, you know, depending on what your faith is. It could be talking it out or not talking. It could be journaling. It could be going, participating in a support group. There are support groups out there for almost anything that you can imagine. And so tapping into those can be very helpful. And then just simply honoring the memory of that loved one without feeling guilt, without being ashamed of that person for the decision that they made. But just honoring them, honor them by, you know, um, it could be something small. One of the ways I honor my dad is this ring that I'm wearing, this butterfly ring that he gave me for my 21st birthday. And whenever I'm wearing it, it just feels like I feel him because he was really into butterflies, right? Um, I almost can't see a butterfly when I want to come to tears because I'm like, but he liked the story of the butterfly. So it could be little things like that, things that are honoring of the person that you may have lost that can help you in some way manage that moment in that time. And just understanding that when these kinds of losses happen, it is not your fault. Um, it's not your fault because you did not make the decision, right, for them. That is a decision that they had to own for themselves. And when they did whatever it is that they did, in that moment, they owned the decision that they made. And so for those of you who are dealing with a guilt of feeling like, oh, what more could I have done? What more should I have done? Maybe I wasn't there enough. Maybe I didn't. No, you could have, you could have carried them on your back to the moon. And if they had made a firm decision within their heart that that is what they wanted to do, there is nothing in this world that could have stopped them. Okay, so and so I want you to, understand that, now, that that person is no longer here, and so you still are here and you are still living and your life really is means something, right? So it could be that one of the things you might think about doing if you want to is even starting, I don't know, starting something in their memory, starting your own support group. in that person's memory, or a nonprofit, or just these are just ideas. Whatever you feel like you can do to honor that person as you are grieving the loss, and even as you are feeling like this guilt, that you could have done more, you can still do even while they're not here. You can still, provide um, comfort to somebody else, who may be going through a similar situation. There are things that you can do in that person's memory, just to help you live each day a little bit better. But regardless of what you choose, and regardless of how you manage the hurt and the pain that you might be dealing with, um, you know, n know that there is help out there. Um, and that you don't have to stay silent. Hopefully you have your crew, your tribe, as I always call them, of people that you can deal with. I mean, that you can talk things through and let them know just what you're feeling. That tribe that's going to allow you to be honest and not judge you for it, and not hang up the phone on you. That tribe that really is there, and can be present. And as with everything, you, everything is one day at a time. And actually, sometimes it's not one day at a time. Sometimes it's literally 1 second at a time, that you are, as you are, especially in the beginning of grief, and when it's still very new and very fresh, it's going to take time. It is going to take time to navigate all of those feelings and emotions that come up in grief and loss. And guess what? It's okay. Take the time that you need to handle those situations. Take the time that you need to get through those situations. And understand that you can get through this. You do have the capacity to get through the notion that you may not have been able to save a person that you love and was close to, um, but you can still honor them. All right. So I hope this was, I know that again, this was not like a warm and fuzzy Mind the Mental Monday. It's a more somber sort of Mind the Mental Monday. But I hope that you are encouraged, that again, you don't have to tie all those capes on your back, because all of them capes are going to weigh you down when you are really put here to fly in the face of the grief. All right. So, I will be praying for you and for all of you, anybody who has experienced this kind of loss, this kind of grief. Um, and I hope that perhaps maybe I can, maybe this episode can be a little bit of me carrying your umbrella for you. I can't I can't make the rain stop, and neither could you. But I can hold the umbrella for just a little while, at least just for a few steps, for 35 minutes. Um, I can hold the umbrella and say to you that there is hope, that you are here on purpose, and that you can get through this 1 second at a time, 1 minute at a time, a day at a time, however long it takes. You have the capacity to navigate it. And I pray that you do. So anyone who needs any resources, let me know. I want to share with you a couple of suicide prevention resources. 988 is the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And so anywhere in the country, you can, if you or someone you know is in distress, and is seriously considering suicide, you can dial 988. There is the National Alliance on Mental Illness called NAMI, NAMI. And they have chapters in all across the country, in various cities. So you can do www.nami.org, and you can look for your state or your city where you're located for those resources. And then there are also local faith-based or community support networks that might be in your area. If there are hospitals in your area, they that may provide support groups and different kinds of resources as well. So I hope this was helpful. Also, in addition to what was just said, please pray for our nation, for all of these, for the many, many people who are going to be losing health care, losing medical access. What is being done right now is sheer evil. I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it out. I'm calling it for what it is. It is demonic. It is evil. But those of us, particularly in the Christian faith, who are actually followers of Jesus Christ, um, we have to be prayerful. Um, we need to come together and help our brothers and sisters who will, for whom this will really be very, very detrimental. Um, children, just all kinds of people, millions of people who will be negatively impacted by this bill that was just passed and signed into law. So beyond praying for this nation, you know, act locally, find out what you can do in your local communities, whether it is partnering with some kind of like a nonprofit or partnering with faith communities, with churches and so forth, to come together in your community to provide for, those, to help those in particular who are going to be at most risk of not being able to access healthcare and not being able to access mental health care. Um, let's put our collective hats on and let's keep moving in the face of this evil, and continue to do our part, whatever that is. And not everybody is meant to do everything, but everybody has some kind of expertise or some kind of um, skill that they can lend to various efforts that are already in place, that will help those in each of our communities to survive this evil. So let's do it. We have no choice but to, right? We gotta come together and we've got to do what is necessary to help each other to survive. And so, with that said, I'm going to close Mind the Mental Monday tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Please share this. Um, we want to continue to get Mind the Mental Monday out to everywhere that it can go. So please share this. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is just Benita Weathers. I'm Benita Weathers everywhere on all the social media. So please share with your people that you follow, or your audience, or whatever that the case might be, your family, your friends. Please share with them And let's mind the mental together. All right. God bless and have a wonderful Monday. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I'll see you next week. Bye.